Okay, so I want to go back to my childhood. So when I was young, my birthday was a very important day in my life. Must have been in yours also. So what I want to ask you, simple question, what was your birthday? What's your birthday? 1985. Okay, whatever, 1985. Now 1985 counted from what? From what epoch? From what time? You're counting 1985 from where? From birth of Christ. Okay. So I said 1984, and you are counting it from a birth of Christ, which you consider as historical event. That was a correct guess. That is what you will say. So that's the typical answer, birth of Christ. So when you state your year of birth, you are forced to tie it up to the birth of Jesus. Doesn't make sense. It's contrary to common sense. So you do things which are contrary to common sense and feel superior. That's the idea of colonial education. All right? So now I want to fix this to the calendar. We have adopted the calendar. Why? Because it is superior. Why is it superior? So I have a right to ask that question. Why is it superior? Let us examine the matter scientifically. Is it superior? Who examined it scientifically? That's the question. Did you examine it? Did you look at the calendar? Did you look at the panchang? Did you make a comparison? Did you say, all right, this is superior for this reason? And why should we not do it? And why should we not do it in a very public way? Because it is something which affects everybody. It should be done in a very public way. Things just to indoctrinate you. What can I do? It's a simple natural phenomenon. You look up in the sky and you'll be able to see everything. You should observe it, but they don't teach you astronomy in school. It's part of your daily experience. It's not taught. You should ask why not. You have equinox coming on a fixed date, so it's still faulty. All right, so let me go on to the Indian calendar and tell you something about it in contrast. The Indian calendar has been in continuous use for a very long time, since the Rig Veda and the Vedanga Jyotish. Now this term Jyotish is not about astrology. I have a 15-year-old standing challenge to show me one single sentence about astrology in the Vedanga Jyotish. It's a scientific manual on timekeeping. It's only about timekeeping, and we know its date pretty precisely, at least from minus 1500 is the last count. So this was a public challenge made in front of the international press 15 years ago, that there is no astrology in the Vedanga Jyotish. So the Indian Panchang is a lunisolar calendar. It's not a lunar calendar. It's not that, people say, oh, solar calendar, lunar calendar. No, it's not like that. There is no dichotomy of that sort. It keeps track of both the sun and the moon. The month is right, always 30 days, and the year is right. We already saw that. So a month always has 30 tithis. How is that? Because the tithi is defined as the time it takes for the sun and moon to move apart by 12 degrees. So 12 into 30, 360. So after 30 tithis, it will come back. But a tithi is not a solar day. It is not a civil day. It's a lunar day. So converting one to the other, converting it to the Ahargan requires calculation. These calculations are all performed in a standard way in Indian texts. But you have to keep that in mind. It's not a civil day. You can have a lupta tithi, you can have additional tithi, and so on. Just as you can have intercalary months, because these months will not equal, 12 months will not give you a year, full year, so you have to have intercalary months, adhik mas. Not going into that. It was transmitted to a lot of places. The Egyptian calendar and the Maya calendar are remarkably similar. Maya also had a day count. And the Indian scientific calendar begins with the Kali era, not your, which is minus 3102. The Maya calendar begins with minus 3112, 10 days and 5,000 years. That's no difference at all. Very insignificant difference. So this suggests that there was a common astronomical model being used. Depends on the sidereal year. Please investigate what happened, why are we accepting it, and so on. Okay, so now let me come back. I started with religious politics. Let me come back to that. That just as most people can't tell their date of birth, can you tell your date of birth on the Indian calendar? You don't know. You have no idea. So you can't tell the Indian holidays. How do you determine when is Diwali, when is Holi? You don't know. Somebody has to tell you. It doesn't come naturally. But if I ask you what's the date of Christmas, what's the date of New Year, you'll be able to tell me. Right? That's easy. So something which is part of your culture has been made so difficult for you that most people can't do it. That's what's called alienation. So Holi depends on Purnima, depends on the cycle of the moon. Diwali depends on Amavasya. Buddha Purnima, Mahavir Jayanti, these all depend on the lunar phases. They're movable on the Gregorian calendar. So you cannot determine them just like that. And you are alienated from that. Now I want to conclude with one last point, which is that we have two secular festivals, not dependent on any religion, not Hinduism, not Buddhism, not Jainism, not Islam. Okay, so they are Independence Day and Republic Day. How are they defined? They are defined only on the Gregorian calendar. Alright, which is the ritual, Christian ritual calendar. Why is that done? If it's a secular festival, define it on a secular calendar. Why should you define it on a Christian ritual calendar? Doesn't make any sense to me. Either you say we don't want secularism or you say we want secularism, make it secular. Just making it Christian doesn't make it secular. That's a wrong concept. Okay, so let me conclude. First of all, the Gregorian calendar is an unscientific calendar. Months are all wrong, hopelessly wrong, manifestly wrong. So when we talk of scientific temper, we should reject it. Just for that reason, that is unscientific. Alright? The year is also wrong except on an average. So we should have a better thing which gives you an equinox on a fixed date. Second thing, it provides non-textual evidence. No sense, it's not proper history. It lacks the concept of a rainy season, the Gregorian calendar, therefore it harms our economic interests, fundamental economic interests. Even once upon a time, India was a country of farmers. Even now there is about 58% in agriculture. 58% of our labor is still in agriculture. And most of it is not irrigated. It's all monsoon dependent. It's alienating, completely divorces you from your culture. You cannot know what your basic festivals are. But you know what other festivals are. Okay, and what happens with the Indian lunisolar calendar? It's a scientific calendar. It is better than the Gregorian calendar. Okay, at least it has the accurate length of the year, it has the accurate way of doing months and so on. Similar astronomy was used worldwide. China, Arabs, possibly Egyptians and Mayas. Alright? So whether it gives a correct account of the monsoon at present, it was successful in the past. So you cannot just abandon it. At least you have some model which worked in the past. Why should you accept something which has no model at all, like the Gregorian calendar, which doesn't tell you anything about the rainy season?
So this is, firstly, this is called Tithi. Tithi, say it with me. Tithi Pravesha. Tithi is a technical term. It's an angle between the sun and the moon. The sun is the father, is Shiva, and the moon is the divine mother. So the angle between the sun and the moon shows the relationship between the father and the mother that led to our creation. That relationship that the father had with the mother or the mother had with the father, which led to our creation, will dominate all our relationships in this planet. That is the relationship which has been put inside our head. It's like a chip. It is a chip in time that has been put inside your head. And that is going to decide all your relationships. That is your real birthday. Because if the father and the mother did not have a relationship, I'm using the word relationship, actually it's mating. If they did not mate, how do you think you would have appeared in this planet? The divine father and the divine mother did have a relationship. Okay. So the sun and the moon were always there in the sky. And what happens is, if you take the sun as a point and go around the zodiac and come back to the sun, we cover a full 360 degrees. These 360 degrees is broken into two parts. When the moon is going away from the sun. When the moon goes away from the sun, what is happening? Its light is increasing. It's called the waxing half. And the moon starts moving towards the sun, its light is decreasing. It's called the waning half. So waxing half and the waning half are the two halves of the moon and sun relationship. So basically we can say 180 degrees from the sun is the waxing half and 180 degrees is the waning half. And this 180 degrees is divided into 15 relationship days. Each relationship day is defined by an angular displacement of 12 degrees. So from the sun, when the moon is away by 12 degrees, that's one relationship day. Good. So when our birthday, when we celebrate birthdays, from now you will never again celebrate birthday like fools. Like I say, I'm born on the 7th of August. And so every year on the 7th of August is my birthday. No, it is not. It depends upon whether the relationship between the sun and the moon is exactly the same on that day or not. If it is, then it is your birthday. If it is not, it's not your birthday. Do you get the point here? So we are celebrating birthday Vedic. Vedic means knowledge. In India, for example, how are we going to calculate this? In India, this is calculated for all the avatars. Even Krishna's birthday is celebrated today on different days, depending upon when that sun and the moon come together. Even Krishna was born. The fact that he was born, it means Shiva and Parvati came together. And how did Krishna respect his parents? He built a huge temple for them, which stands even today, which we call Somnath. So that is the truth. It's there in front of us. And that's 4, 5, like that. So I was born in the third relationship in the dark half. So I can only be reborn every year on the third relationship. I cannot be reborn in any other relationship. Because that is my real creation. That is the Shiva Linga that we celebrated. Isn't it such a interesting thing? So it's important that we know when that angle between the sun and the moon is exactly the same.
मेरा जन्मदिवस 24 दिसंबर को है। मैंने अपने गुरुजी पूज्य स्वामी श्री जी से निवेदन किया कि मैं अपना जन्मदिवस आपके सानिध्य में मनाना चाहता हूँ।
Wonder boy Kautilya, popularly known as Google Boy from Karnal district of Haryana, will celebrate his Janmatithi in Kashi as per the Hindu calendar on Margarishi Purnima that falls on December 13. His birthday as per English calendar is on December 24, but he insisted to celebrate it at Sri Vidya Mutt at Kedar Ghat with Swami Avimukteshwaranand Saraswati, the chief disciple of Shankaracharya Swami Swarupanand Saraswati.
गुरुजी खुश हुए। उन्होंने बड़े ही सहज भाव से उत्तर दिया, कौटिल्य, तुम अपना यहाँ बर्थ डे नहीं मनता, पर हम यहाँ जन्मदिन मनाते हैं, और वो भी भारतीय पंचांग के अनुसार। मैंने तभी तुरंत उत्तर दिया, स्वामी जी, मैं अपना हर जन्मदिवस भविष्य में भारतीय पंचांग के अनुसार से मनाया करूंगा। और मेरा जन्म दिवस मार्गशीर्ष की पूर्णिमा को आता है, जो इंग्लिश कैलेंडर के अनुसार से इस बार 13 दिसंबर को है। फिर मेरे अभिभावकों ने मुझे भारतीय कैलेंडर की सटीकता एवं शुद्धता के बारे में बताया और मैं आप सभी लोगों की कामना एवं आशीर्वाद के साथ आ रहा हूँ अपने पूज्य स्वामी श्री जी की छत्र छाया में, काशी जी।